Okay, on today's video, what I'm going to be doing is I like to go camping, and I use this air pump to pump up my air mattress when I sleep. This is in no way sponsored by Outbound, but this is the pump that I use to inflate mattresses. Unfortunately, it takes 4 D-size batteries. Here's 2, but I don't want to keep buying the cheap ones because they don't last more than a camping trip or 2, and I don't want to spend money on the good ones to last 4 or 5 camping trips because, again, it's not very cost effective. So what I'm going to do is this is where the batteries would go, is I'm going to take this 6-volt battery that I have from a dead hot water machine, on-demand hot water machine with propane, and you charge it, which provides 6 volts, and I'm going to hook it up to this air pump. I'm going to do so with these 2 wires with alligator clips on them, which red to the positive, black to the negative, just for a bit of a demonstration. Negative goes there, positive goes here, and works quite well. So, on that, I'm going to, instead of have to do this every time, I'm going to take a couple of these 9-volt clip leads that I have. I'm going to epoxy one to the inside, drill a small hole, and solder these in, and then solder the other one to these alligator clips. And I'm just going to bundle these up, throw them in the compartment, close it up, and that way when I want to pump air, I just connect these up, put the clips on, and away it goes. Yeah, because I have one of these that I charge with my hot water machine, and this is a spare or second one, so I can use that to inflate my air mattress. So that is my task today. I will go over the steps as to how to do that. Okay, so my first step is to get my drill, and I'm going to drill a small hole here in the side for these wires to go through, because I would like to have this be able to be closed up again afterwards. Like so. Now the switch won't be in use for this scenario, but I wanted to wire this in such a way that I could still use the batteries if I wanted to, the 4 D size, without interfering with it working normally. Yes, this is unscripted. Alright, so we're going to drill the hole. There we go, hole drilled. Perfect. And I'm just going to put some epoxy and epoxy that onto the back like that. Okay, the next step in this process will be to mix up some 5-minute epoxy. What I'm going to do here is just place this into this disposable container, mix it up for 20 seconds according to the directions, apply it, and it should set in about 5 minutes. So first I'm just going to take that off. Dispense just enough for what I want to do today. Should be enough. mix too much. And mix this up. It says for 20 seconds or until uniform consistency. There we go. There we go. That should be good. So I'm just going to apply some down here. That should be enough. I'm going to hold that in place with an elastic band. And to make sure that gets held down enough, I'm going to just put this USB charger underneath it to give it some direct pressure. I'm going to move it into place now while it's still wet. And we'll check on that in about 5 minutes. See you in a bit. Alright, so it's been about 10 minutes. So let's go ahead and take a look and see how it's done. Grab another toothpick and let's see here. Well, it's pretty hard, but it's still a bit soft. So I'm going to give that about another 20 to 30 minutes to set up. And then I'll be right back. Okay, so it has been epoxied on, so that'll stay in place quite nicely. It was still a little soft, so I'm just going to let that set for probably the next day. But I can continue on with the rest of the project, of which I've got my soldering iron ready to go, all set up. And I'm just going to trim the leads of these positive and negative clips that I'm going to be using. And once I've soldered these two wires together, I'm going to put a bit of heat shrink tubing and shrink those down so that they don't make contact accidentally. Connect that to here, and so that when I want to power it, I can just simply attach this, and away it goes. So first step first, I'm going to tin the, got some helping hands here, which will just help me by keeping things held for me. That's the name, helping hands. Got some solder. There we go. So first we're going to tin the leads, which just means putting a little bit of solder on it. So you heat it up with the tip of the soldering iron, and just run the solder back and forth until it looks silverish. Again, we need to heat up the wire first. first, and the solder should stick. And from time to time it's good to clean off your tip. Just run it over a wet sponge and get the excess off. And now we do the same with the other side. So we do the red here. Heat up the wire, then attach or touch the solder to it, and it should wick right up onto it. So now, take this off. Now, first thing we're going to take our heat shrink tubing, cut off a good amount. Feed it down the wire first, then we attach. Get it so that the two wires are touching, and all you really need to do is just heat it up. You might need to add a little more solder, but probably not. A little more solder. There we go. That's one done. And now for the back one. Positive and negative. So they're touching. So they're touching. There we go. Now we move the heat shrink down. I'll be right back. So now, if we take a heat source, you can either use a hot air gun, or you can use a lighter, or I guess you could use a match if you really had to. And you just gently run it under the, pretty quickly, just under the heat shrink tubing, and as it gets hot, it shrinks up. Hence the name heat shrink tubing. There we go. Make sure that's about the middle. There we go. Oh, a little bit more. There we go. So, the next stage. So here, the red goes to the big one and the black goes to the small one. So on the other side, the red goes to the big one. Well, now we're going to the small one. And the red's going to the small one is the black. And the black is the negative, which is with the spring here. So this one is the negative. So what I'm going to do is to cut it down so it's not so long. Strip off some of the insulation. Strip off some of the insulation. Again, I'm going to tin the end. Don't breathe in these fumes, folks. Not a good idea. And then attach this to the negative terminal of the connection here. There we go. Now for the red one, approximately the same thing. I'm going to snip it off, get rid of the excess, take off a couple millimeters here of the insulation. Okay. Tin the end of the wire again. And attach that to the end of the motor here. There we go. So now, if I connect this to here, like that, and this to the battery, red on red, black on black, away it goes, blowing out all the air. I will show you that it's blowing air with this. There we go. And it can still be used with the 4D size batteries if I wanted to. So that's my little hack on this project. See? No problems in there. Just need 4 of them, but I wasn't going to go buy more. And I can just take this, bundle it up, throw it in the compartment, close it up. Like so. That's about it, guys. Yeah, so if you have any questions, feel free to write them below, and I'll try to check that once in a while and get back to you if you have any questions. And I'll give you an update later if this does not work or it does work in the future. Thanks. Have a great day, guys.